get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. I'm your guys' host, SchuZ Schumaker. Hope you guys are having a phenomenal Friday so far. But to wrap this week's show, I've got a very special guest that's joining the show. He's a man with a 32-2 record with 19 KOs. He's currently ranked the WBC number 11 ranked junior lightweight contender. He's also the former WBC world featherweight champion, and that's none other than Mr. Gary Russell Jr. Gary, appreciate you for taking time to come on today, man.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. Well, first things first, I just want to ask about life. Back in boxing now. You're coming off a great win a little bit ago. How's life been now that you're officially back in the boxing scene?
It's been cool. It's been cool. I'm glad to be back in the sport. Able to do what I love to do, do the best. I never really out of the sport based upon the fact that I was always working and with my younger brother, trying to get them ready, for their fights, etc. But it was nerve wracking, man. Like boxing is a lifestyle. Even when the sport is over with for me, I'm one of those guys that always still be in the gym, still train, still want to work out. I want to be in a certain type of shape, no matter what the condition is. So that was the longest that I was off, man. So it was driving crazy not to be able to work out.
Absolutely. Here, one sec. For some reason, the audio is coming in. I'm going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll get right back to it. One sec. All right, so let's get right back to it. So as you were talking about, Gary, so obviously you're back into the boxing scene right now. As you kind of went through, though, you went through quite a 3-year span there for yourself. Obviously, you had the Mark McSayoff loss, but you end up having a life-altering stuff go down in your life. And I just want to ask about that because it's great respect for what you've been able to do. How has that whole situation helped make you into the person that you are now today?
Oh, man, I think everybody in life, who you are today, predicated to your past. When what's like whatever, it feels hard. You know, you have to be grit. You know, you can't feel milk, man. Things are just inevitable. You got to live life go, and try to learn from it. So I'm grateful that my family, my parents, my father, they still a certain level still within me, my younger brother, continue to just keep pushing.
As you've now taken on this massive responsibility for yourself, and you just look at what you've been able to kind of take on, you had to separate yourself and say, I'm going to put family first for this time span. I'm going to make sure I put my priorities right. That's not something that so many people are able to grasp and hold on to. You did that, and like you said, you still were able to come back and return and look excellent in boxing. How'd you do it? How are you able to still make your priorities straight and still focus on boxing to the point where you're at today?
The creative, I get all God. And to dad, my dad, I don't know if you've seen Black Panther before, you know, but when he went to go visit his ancestors, they a parent who has prepared their children for life without them is a parent who has failed. My father hasn't failed. My younger brother, so I'm grateful that all some vision and very so driven. Um, I just took it one day. I took it one day. My younger brother passed first. Then my dad passed, who was my coach. So it a lot. I didn't really have the opportunity to read because like I had to handle everything else. I didn't have a chance to really sit down, take the time, reflect. I just go.
Absolutely.
I have subtle, you subtle moments of joy. My younger brothers when I come out victorious, etc. It's all predicated to what we've been through. A lot of fighters, they have multiple coaches. They have so many coaches throughout their career. Me and my brother had the same coach. It's from the amateurs all the way up. My father created a world champion, 2 Olympians, and then I went on with the same position the DNA and the competitors which they were that. I'm grateful that we're able to play and continue to follow.
Absolutely. Here, one second. It just cut out again. I'm gonna try to see what's going on. One second, folks. Welcome back, everyone. Hopefully, we have the little audio situation figured out. But, Gareth, so I want to ask you another one of the component then. That's talking about your family. You know, we look at the legacy you guys have already created. I know you guys have still got a lot more to accomplish and do within your boxing careers. But, as you said, two brothers, two world champions. There's only been a handful of guys that's ever done that in the world of boxing. You guys have already accomplished that.
And two Olympians.
Exactly, 100%. And so that's what I have to ask you about. You know, this is something that is very, very rare. We see this in sports every once in a while. And once in a blue moon, we see two brothers make it to be successful. You guys have already done this. And you guys aren't the only ones as well. So I just want to ask about this. How have you guys been able to do this?
How do you know how?
Yeah, how have you guys been able to get to this point where you guys have been able to reach this level through all the adversity, through everything going on? How have you guys reached this standard?
Everything has been predicated on hopefully the service isn't cut. But everything is predicated on he had the blueprint. You know, we were just the vessel. You know, he instilled certain things as far as all of his children. You know, we were all aggressive children. You know, we grew up in a very high crime driven neighborhood area at the time that we needed something to change our and keep us away from everything. You know, and my father fit to put us in boxing. You know, he was our own coach. He studied a lot of boxing. You know, and it showed in his work. But
When you guys were kids, if somebody would have come and told you guys that you guys were going to accomplish everything that you guys have accomplished, what would your reaction have been?
I'm back.
Can you hear me? All right, cool. Wait, if someone were to come and tell you when you were a kid that, hey, in the future, you
that
guys
way.
are going to go out there and become world champions, become Olympians, what
Can
would
you
you guys'
hear me?
reaction? Yeah, I can still hear you. Can you hear me? Test, test. Can you hear me?
Oh, shit.
Here, one sec, one sec. Test, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but it looked like you froze.
Uh, can you still see me and hear me?
Oh yeah, no, I can see you and I can hear you.
I bet we're good. Perfect, perfect. So I was saying though, if someone would have come and told you guys when you guys were kids that in the future you guys were going to become Olympians, you guys were going to become world champions, what would you guys' reaction have been?
What was our reaction?
What would your reaction have been if someone came and told you guys when you guys were younger, as kids, that you guys were going to become Olympians, become world champions? How would you guys have
Um,
reacted?
so it's funny because when I was a little kid, I was one of those phenoms as a young kid. I was actually training in boxing when I was maybe like my father had me working out at like maybe like 4 or 5 years old. So I was relatively young when I was doing it,
Hmm.
and I was competing or working out around a lot of the older guys like uh, Riddick Bowe. You know, these guys was like well off in their career at the time, but I was a little baby, and they seen the skill sets that I possessed back then,
Hmm.
and they used to come to me and tell me like, man, if you stick to it, man, you gonna be a champion. You know, but I never really paid it really no mind. You know, I just stuck at it.
All right, so let's go all the way back. You're originally from DC. You guys obviously grew up where you live in now, Maryland, And when we talk about the DMV, I just want to ask about that environment because overall, when you talk about the athletics, especially, regardless of sport we're talking about, you can rank the DMV area right up there within the top two, three of every sport pretty much. It is one of the greatest hotbeds for talents and athleticism in all the world. Talk about yourself. You are now one of those guys that's made it. You can join all those other great names. What does it mean just to be able to represent the DMV area?
Um, I mean, it means a lot because I'm a product of my environment. You
Hmm,
know, I'm definitely a product of my environment. It's cool to see people that I went to school with, teachers, people within the neighborhood, that never had the opportunity to be able to do something in life,
right.
and they feel as though they can live through me for to a certain extent.
Sure.
So it's pretty cool in that, and I don't never want the honor and the integrity within that to go in vain. I understand that I represent more than just myself when I go out here, when I compete, even when I'm just in my everyday life. I represent those people that give me, a certain level of love and appreciation, that look up to me and know that I'm a product of my environment. I give those people in our area um, belief that if you put your mind to it and you work hard, anything is possible. We grew up in the murder capital. This is the most one of the wildest areas at the time when we were coming up.
Right.
As children. And to be able to do the things that we've done under those conditions speaks volumes.
In terms of the environment you grew up in, obviously it says very tough. And I've had on countless guys, whether that be Scooter, that be Troy Isley, different guys are from that area, and they've all talked about, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that you kind of have to stay locked in. You have to make sure you pursue, keep the main thing. How have you been able to do that and say, you know what, there's always distractions. How have you stayed locked in and really focused in on your dreams?
Um, at one point, it was my father that was kind of spearheading everything when it came to me and my younger brothers.
Mm,
And then it got to a point where as though I just naturally just started liking it. I realized that, oh shit, I'm actually good at this shit, and I
mhm.
really like doing it, you know. And then my family, a lot of people, they pour their energy from other places. They got to get away from their family, get away from friends and stuff like that to go away for training camp to get ready. I pour my energy from my families, my loved ones, so they keep me motivated, they keep me locked in. I got a lot of children, you know, and even added on to that because I got custody of my younger brother's children that passed, so they keep me focused, they keep me locked in. Everything I do for them. I do for my family.
I know we touched up on the family aspect in the very beginning, but that is something that is a very debated subject in terms of fighters. Some guys, like you said, want to go move away from family for training camps. As you said, you want your family in a way is your energy. It's what motivates you to
Yeah,
keep going. Walk us through
yeah.
that mentality because, like I said, obviously it works for some guys to move away, some guys stay home. Why has this been the route you've taken, and why and how does that feed into you and your energy?
Um, Shit, it's worked so far, haven't
Absolutely.
it? I think it has a lot to do with with just our upbringing. In order for you just to go to school and just survive in this area, you had to be rough, you had to be tough, you had to be a physical type of person. And my father, he just instilled so much into us, man, that he had a certain level of a concept of order,
Hmm.
honor, integrity. All that shit always stuck. That was something that he preached on very heavy within our household.
All right, so I want to ask you now. I talked about yourself, kind of figuring yourself out, and what your guys' reaction would have been when you guys were younger. But when did you see in your younger brothers, when you see a Gary Antoine, Gary Antonia, they were going to be special boxers as well. When did you start to notice that as the older brother?
Um, Probably around the same time when I noticed it for me.
Okay.
Once I once I went to the Junior Olympics, I came up in that era where I wanted to be an Olympian. I didn't. It wasn't a big thing to be a world champion, until after the Olympics. But I grew up in that era where I wanted to be an Olympian. So once I got won the gold medal in the Junior Olympics, I felt as though like, all right, I know we can do something with this shit. And
Okay.
same with my younger brothers, you know. Um, I was like, can you hear me?
Yep, all good. Yep. Can you hear me? That's
Hello?
you good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, we just cut out again.
And one second, can you hear me? That's
I can hear you.
So I also want to ask about the Olympic aspect, Gary, because one of the portions there is I just had Ronnie Shields on the show a couple of days ago, and he was kind of alluding on, this new era is not as fond of the Olympic process. A lot of guys don't have that same dream anymore. You grew up in that. So I want to ask about this. When you talk about sports, Olympic gold medalists, that's one of the highest accolades, probably the highest accolade in all sports. So many guys are now just pushing for the money or whatever it might be to go pro. What's your take on everything going on in that regard?
I feel like I feel like at this point in sport, somewhat getting watered down, getting tainted. You
Mhm.
know that it's kind of losing the thrill of becoming an Olympian. You know, and gold medalist and stuff like that. There's a lot of politics that was going on. When my younger brother fought,
Mhm.
he clearly beat the guy,
Yep.
but they ended up giving the fight to the other guy. Come to find out, he was passing judges and stuff. So it just goes to show that politics just, in my personal opinion, politics is nothing other than the ability to reward or take away from whoever you want to reward or take away from. You,
Right.
and I think politics is one of the big things that's starting to water things down.
All right. So for yourself, when we talk about your Olympic journey, I want to ask about one thing that occurred there because you're obviously going out there, you end up missing the Olympic weigh-in because you end up losing consciousness. I have to ask for the whole story because obviously had to be a pretty life-altering situation there for yourself in the Olympic Village dorm room. Take us through just that whole experience. What you remember from that?
I mean, I remember uh, China. I remember being in China for over a month before the games had started, and it was a lot of people that were participating in outdoor events like track and field, archery, and stuff like that. Not even just the participants, but the the media crew and stuff like that covered the
Mhm.
outdoor events. They started getting sick, they started passing out, stuff like that. Um, it was to the point where so they had to figure out somewhere else for the people that participated in outdoor events to work out inside. And the fact that China was covering the Olympics, I didn't think they want to have a black eye or people speaking negatively about what was going on out there. They had something called small, something like that,
Hmm.
and you literally cannot see from one side to the other because it's so polluted and stuff like that. On the way, I beat the silver medalist of the previous game, uh, and like the World Cup or something like that. I was one of the medal hopefuls, and on to the actual roster weigh in, I don't know, I was sick. I just remember I started feeling dizzy. I remember like looking up, like seeing people around, and so like I wanted to be able to compete. I was pissed. I was pissed. I no longer wanted to box. I had so much support from people that you know, and I felt like me not being able to compete was just like all the support from family. You know, it wasn't until I reached out to my father and he gave me another opportunity. I said the only way now that I be able to make it back to the people that genuinely support was to become a world champion.
Hmm.
You know, so we done it.
And so you wrap up the amateur career, 163 record with 10 losses only, and then you turn pro. 2009 rolls around. Walk us through this now. What was the adjustment for yourself? Because obviously amateur and pros are different styles. You have a lot of differences between the two of them. What was the adjustment process like for yourself?
Um, just trying to slow things down a little.
Mm-hmm.
You know, slow things down a little bit. Coming out of the one of the best amateurs that's coming out of the 2000 Olympics, etc. You know, when you go out there and you compete, you know, you want to put on the show. You know, but you got to perfect a little more of a slower pace. You know, kind of adjust the pace a little more. You know, time, rhythm, stuff like that. But it was a smooth transition for me.
All right, so I do have to ask about this. You get your very first world championship shot, Vasily Lomachenko. That's also your very first career loss. I want to ask about that night because obviously you were already building popularity, but that night was probably your big breakout scene for the whole world to see who you are and how talented and how gifted you were. Take us through that night. Obviously, it results in a loss, but I think a lot of people did earn a ton of respect for yourself there. What was that night like?
Um, Once again, that was my first opportunity to make it up to everyone that gave me all the support, you know, to try to become a world champion. Uh,
Mm,
some some things you just have to go through it and get the experience. If I would known what I know now, you know, I would have did things a lot different. Leading up to that fight, we had to cut. We had to actually brought in a different conditioning coach, and we made weight entirely our 6 to 8 week training camp on this specific skill. Once we got out there to weigh in on the actual trial scale, I was a pound and a half over on my scale. That's not really a lot of weight to cut. A pound or something for a fight. But we got on the actual official scale. I had to do. We was five. I was 5.5 pounds overweight. You know, so our scale that we weighed in on the entire camp was off. So, you know,
right.
got you know, I want to kind of take blame for that. But I feel like that's where you know, strength and conditioning coach and shit like that's supposed to be on top of us, you know, but it is what it is. We can't cry with spilled milk. We lost all the weight because I want to do everything in my power to try to win this world title. You know, we lost all the weight on a course in a healthy way in the sauna for about 45 hours for
Mm.
maybe 10 repeated the cycle until, you know, we lost all the weight. We still compete and we compete to a split decision, you know. So in my personal opinion, that's my only real.
Hmm. All right, so I know later on you called for the rematch. I know you wanted the rematch. Was that ever something that you guys had any negotiations? Was it ever on the table? Could we ever have seen that rematch happen?
Man, I wanted that rematch so bad. And I'm pissed that he's retired. So now we gotta do like some rock Apollo Creed shit. So I
Mhm.
gotta pick up the gym. You know what I'm saying? Just for shits and giggles, man. I need a couple rounds.
Absolutely. So as you then go forward, you end up finding Johnny Gonzalez, and you end up winning your world championship at that point in time. That had to be a surreal moment for yourself. You're officially world champion. Reflect on what that night was like.
Um, it's so crazy because I, it's crazy because for myself, you know, I felt as though I needed to become a world champion just for the support for the people that really support me, etc. But within that, when I won, I I was more excited for my father, man. I was proud. You know, I felt like, here you go, pops, for all the work, the effort, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the miles that you put on all the different vehicles to get us from point A to point B, so we can get the experience in to get to this point. You know, here you are, pops. You know, so it was a satisfying night.
All right, so going forward, then you defend your belt 6 times, 7 years you hold that belt. That's a remarkable stat right there for yourself. When you look back on that time span of your life where you were having to defend your belt for that long, you held the belt for that much time. What was your favorite fight during that time span?
What was my favorite fight at that
Correct. Yep.
time? My favorite fight at that time was probably JoJo Diaz.
Okay.
And I say that because JoJo Diaz, he was the epitome of a fighter to me. You know,
Mhm.
he was uh, he was undefeated. He was a true fighter. He was someone that was willing to put all that shit on the line, to put his own line. He don't, he's willing to get see if he got what the fuck it takes to win the fight. You
Right.
know, and I will always take my hat off to Joe. Um, he's a hell of a fighter. He just moved up before Regis broke not too long ago. You know, he actually rocked Regis and had Regis on his pocket for a little second. You know, I think Joe Diaz is definitely one of my better fights. I thought he was a true. I feel as though he was a true fighter. Within
Absolutely.
that time frame, it was a lot of people that were world champions that didn't want no part of me, that did not fight. They had a title. I mentioned their name. I ain't hear me talk. Except JoJo did with somebody like I'm willing to step up to the top.
Absolutely. So I also want to ask about this aspect. I have to imagine that during that time span, you probably want to get in the ring and be a little bit more active. But obviously, you're averaging just right around one fight per year. Then you look at leading up to your Mark Magsayo fight. You obviously took a year off prior to that in 2021. Walk us through that whole process. Was that something that you wanted to be more active? Is that just how the cards kind of fell? Or what happened to where you were not able to be as active as you probably desired?
Um, I wanted to be more active. None of the champions that was within the division wanted to compete. So nobody wanted to fight. So I was stuck with fighting the next best guy to the champion, which was the man.
Hmm.
You know, people that work their way up the rankings to be the best guy to fight the champion. You know, none of the other champions wanted to fight, so I had to fight those type of guys.
As you've now learned and experienced the business side of boxing, you've been in this game for a long time now. What would you say if was there anything you possibly could have done in terms of the business side that could have made fights happen, or is there just something in boxing where big fights, regardless of what you want or whatever it is, they just won't happen?
Say that part again.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, now that you know the business side of it, if you were to go back, when you first become world champion, is there anything that you look back on and say, what, if I would have known this at this point in time, maybe it could have helped make big fights happen? Or is boxing just a sport where at the end of the day, there's just so many things going on behind the scenes that you're just not going to be able to make those fights regardless of what happens?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it's definitely a little bit of both. I think, like for example, within that single fight,
Hmm.
if I would have known what I know now, I would have never got in that fucking sauna and tried to cut all that. My skill was wrong. I made a mistake with the skill, etc. But fuck that. We, I, I'm not cutting all this weight. I'm going to make sure that I'm healthy. And before, I would have broken my foot off. That was my first world title. I think that would have made a little difference. But as far as making these fights happen, the promotion itself, yes, they can offer the fights to these guys,
Right.
but they can't make these guys They can't
Absolutely.
make these guys and fight. You know, or you have to be strategic and fight for uh, uh what's it called? An interim title or something
Right.
like that, to where your next fight they gotta fight you. You know, stuff like that. Now, other than that, the sport is getting weak, man. A lot of times when I came up, when I was younger, a lot of people they went out to go try to see how good they were, just to see how good I am, just to see what I need to work on and how much more I need to learn, how much did I learn, and etc. Nowadays, motherfuckers scared to do that no more.
All right, so we go into the Mark Magsayo fight then. At this point in time, I know you obviously took a year off in 2021. You go into this fight, you end up losing by majority decision, but you have a lot going on. You tore your tendon in your right rotator cuff that requires surgery 3 months later. A lot of stuff's on the plate. Obviously, I said that's not even including the fact that you already were outside the ring for over a year. Walk us through this. Obviously, a lot was on the table for yourself at that point. What all happened that night leading up to the fight and then ultimately that night?
Uh, Leading up to the fight, my younger brother passed. He passed right before the fight. His health was definitely deteriorating. Uh, his health was definitely deteriorating during that time. It was real tough for training. Uh, that was one of the fights that I honestly say that even though my father was here, he physically wasn't healthy enough to like coach me the way that we needed, but we still shape. Uh, yeah, I did have the more intended, but I felt as though that fight gave me the opportunity to really showcase my skills to the world. Yeah, regardless of my own being hurt, injured, it was a 12 round fight. I don't know what the fuck none of those judges were saying. The sport of boxing is boxing the queen's right. Hit, not get hit. I
Right.
was touching him whenever I wanted to. I controlled whenever I controlled whenever I wanted to engage, or retreat. I have strategic retreat. I controlled everything that was going on within that fight. I won these 9 out of the 12 each, if you ask me. And I had one on.
All right.
I
So we
don't feel it. I feel like that was a mockery to the sport of boxing, but decision to be something like that. And everyone knows that when you're a champion, you have to take the title of champion. Marcus Style did not take the fucking title from me.
Mhm.
You
Absolutely.
it, 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 I, it was wild, man. It was a reflection.
Absolutely. So I want to also dive into this next aspect. And I know we touched up on, the 3 years off in the very beginning of this interview. But when you were going through this process, did you know all along that you were going to still return to boxing? Just was a matter of time when things got settled down? Or where was your mindset in regards to boxing during that layoff?
No, um, to be honest with you, no.
Okay.
Um, I did not. That's why I think 3 years, some change, and etc. Um, yeah, I tore the tendon connected to my rotator cuff. I didn't know if it was going to be healthy enough to do what I wanted to do. And to be honest with you, it's still not 100% if you ask me. In
Mm,
my personal opinion, it will never be 100%.
okay.
I think I just got good enough and strong enough that I can do, some of the stuff that I used to be able to do.
Mm. When you talk about that aspect, then what in terms of your future do you have in store for this? Because obviously you've already accomplished so many great things. Your legacy is already intact. Like you've done what you needed to do. What's keeping you in boxing? Why do you want to keep doing this?
Because one, I just want one. I
Okay.
just want that one showcase legacy fight. I wanted to fight Leo Sanders, it never happened. I wanted to cover guys, never it materialized. I always wanted Javante Tank Davis, it never happened. So um, I'm one of those guys that never really put a lot of wear and tear on my back. I get hit a lot. I got
Right.
good defense. I don't get hit. You know, um, I'm a technician when I'm in that ring, but I stuck around because I'm still physically healthy.
Okay.
I don't feel as though I lost a step. If I did lose a step, the step that he's up was never. See what I'm saying? I don't feel as though I lost a step. If I feel as though that I slow down or anything like that, of course I'll definitely call it that. I don't feel as though I lost a step. So,
Okay.
and and to be honest with you, I feel like the sport itself. I feel like the sport owes it to me. I did a lap. I did a lap of the sport, man. Saying a lot of people. I feel like the sport itself owes it to me. I just want that one fight.
All right, so just to make sure I can clarify here, then, so basically you're saying is that you want that one big fight, whether that be a Tank Davis, a Lamont Roach, whatever it might be, you want that one signature fight to say the least, and that will kind of be the final thing, the final kind of nail in the coffin for the end of your career. Then,
Yeah, that right there will help put the nail in the coffin. You know,
okay,
after that, then I wouldn't mind a few fans like something like that. Whatever fucking fans see, if they want to see me such and such, sure, why not? You know, something like that. But that's what I truly
all right. So who would be the guys then? If you could list 3, 4, 5 guys, whatever it is, that would qualify for that big signature fight you want, who would that list include?
want. Javante Tank Day, Javante Tank Day, Javante.
All right,
Now
so that's the one then.
he. And here's the thing: people think that it's a personal thing. It's not really a personal thing. A lot of people look at it like, oh, he's just trying to get money, get to the money. This is boxing. Everybody gets to the money to a certain extent. Don't act stupid. You know, it's about legacy.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's about a legacy thing. It's about when my career is over and done. I want people to be able to look back and like, oh shit, he beat him. Oh boy, he beat him. Oh, that's what I. Of
Mm,
course, the money come with that. The money
right.
come, you know. But for all the people that out here, some oh, just chasing the bag. Nah, it's bigger than that. I'm not the guy that's fighting for money. I'm fighting for my legacy. I'm fighting for my baby. I'm fighting for the people that's in my neighborhood that's giving me support. I'm fighting for the people that when they do see me fight, they throwing punches in the air. I bring all that energy with
Mm.
me, you know. So it's just a little different.
Do you think there's any chance that that fight happens?
I think it's possible. I think it's
Okay.
possible. We'll see.
And
I,
obviously,
in my personal opinion, like I said, it's not perfect with Tank, you know. And I just honestly feel as though that sport in general, geologically, is too small for both of us to be in it and not at least collide.
right.
No, please just see what happens. What the fuck?
Absolutely, man. Well, I've got a couple questions before I let you go, and one of them is this. There's a couple of fights going down that I want to ask you about. Obviously, we're just about a week now removed, or away from, I should say, Bud versus Canelo. I just have to hear your thoughts. Who do you have winning the fight now that we are nearing the fight?
Whew. Hey, I ain't gonna lie. So it's to me, it's somewhat of a 50-50. I'm
Yes.
more so leaning towards Canelo. You know, I'm more so leaning towards Canelo. I feel like Canelo had he fought more durable, more solid, you know, more rugged guys in the sport. You know,
Right.
he fought bigger guys, more comfortable with fighting bigger guys. Um, but I also feel as though that Terrence, he has the ability, if he's in that 15 round shape, he has the ability to be able to steal these rounds. He'll
Mm-hmm.
be able to steal. I don't think Terrence will be able to knock Canelo out. If a knockout happens in this fight, it would be Canelo knocking Terrence out.
Yes.
It wouldn't be the other way around. But I can say I can see Terrence still in the early rounds, you know, still in those early positive rounds, putting those rounds in the bank. Uh, if fatigue sets in, hopefully he put enough rounds in the bank that he'll be able to coast when Canelo get close. He got to tie up, smother. You know, he got to be smart. Make sure that when he does smother, tie up, when the referee comes, he got to let go before the referee get there because you don't want them to start taking points. You
Right.
know, all that stuff matters. I think he can be smart, strategic. If he boxes Canelo, you know, and move and he's in shape, I think he can get Canelo a run for his fucking money.
All right.
But Canelo, so we used to call him Curry back in the day. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and when he was a little younger, we called him Curry. He was letting his motherfucking hands go down. More recently, Canelo been looking for maybe 1 or 2 punches. Of course, he's heavy-handed on both sides.
Right.
You know, but he looks for maybe 1 or 2 shots. If he goes into this fight like Curry and he's throwing that shit 3, 4, 5, but
basically, I'd say this then. You're not going to put too much money on this fight then? You're just going to kind of let it play out?
Man, listen, I'm gonna have to play.
Absolutely.
But if I was gonna bet on anybody, I'll put my money on Canelo. Hopefully he still got some. He got a lot of mileage on him. You know, I think Canelo got a lot
Yes.
of mileage on him before the last dog. You know, I put my money on him just because of the work that he's put in the past. You know,
Mm-hmm.
does he still have this out? I'm not sure. You
All right.
know, if not, Terrence will have the ability to take advantage of him, and he'll be the undisputed, world champion. I mean, it
Absolutely.
would be sweet for Terrence if it happened. But shit, Canelo coming in 3 to 4 punch combinations, Terrence fucking trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Terrence trouble.
Absolutely.
And I also feel as though that Bud, he's a good fighter. He's someone that he would get the job done. But
Yes.
he's not gonna always look pretty getting the job done.
Mm-hmm.
But he's gonna get the job done. He's gonna get hit. He's gonna get hit with some shots. He's gonna get touched with some shots. He's gonna get the job. He can't do that shit in the fight. And even if Canelo is on 1 or 2 punches, he can't get touched by Canelo.
Right.
I know he's probably been sparring big shit like that to get ready for the fight, but it's different with them little ass head. Boy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Gary, I've got one final question for you. It's the question I wrap up every single interview with, and that's talking about your legacy. We've talked about this incredible career you've had. We know what you want to do to wrap up your career now. But when you do put those gloves down, what do you want the legacy of Mr. Gary Russell Jr. to be?
I what I want it to be, or what I feel like it to be.
If you want to do both, you can do both.
Well, I feel like it would probably be, well, shit, Gary Trent was one of the national motherfuckers that participated in the little division, and he was one of the most because of that, he was one of the most avoided people in the sport of boxing.
Mm,
I think that would definitely be one of the things people say. I was definitely one of the most avoided, one of the most hands down, head and shoulder skill wise better than everybody compete against. But definitely one of the most avoided. You know,
okay. So can you hear me all right? Test, test.
damn, I just got another phone call. Hold on.
You good? You good? Can you hear me?
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
yeah. I would
But yeah.
love, once again, I would love to have that real legacy fight. That legacy fight. I want that fight that everybody. I want to fight everybody's favorite fighter,
Mm.
so I can spank that ass. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I really want. You know what I'm saying? I get that, man. I'd be good. I'd be good, man. And then whatever the fans want, they can get it.
All right, so I know we kind of went to that a little bit ago, but that big fight you're talking about would be around the Tank Davis. And would you go out, regardless of what happens in the ring that night, would you say that probably would be the end of your career at that point in time?
Say that one more time.
Yeah, I know you talked a little bit ago that Gervonta Tank Davis would obviously be the fight you want there, what you're talking about. If that were to happen, would that be the final fight we possibly would see you fight in?
No.
Okay.
To be honest with you, if I get that fight, it's another guy that I do want to fight.
All right. Who's that?
It's another guy that I do want to fight. But if I was to get that fight, I'll stick around just to fight him.
All right. Well, who would that be?
Anyway.
Really? So obviously, I mean, he's obviously at 122. I know he's going up to
Yeah, that was the
126.
thing. He's just a little small. But
Yeah.
when I thought around that time, I felt like he was going to come to 26. He was one of the guys, in my personal opinion, as far as like in boxing, he's definitely nice. He bringing it.
Yes.
He's even handed. I think it'll take someone with a similar skill set to me to beat him. He's
All
somebody that I would like to fight. I only like to fight challenges. I don't know what the fuck these other fighters be doing.
right.
You know what I'm saying? But he's another one that I would like to fight.
would you be able, or what weight class could you possibly get down to? Because obviously 126, I know he said moving up to 130 would be tough for him. Could you get down to 126 again?
I wouldn't go. I mean, this fight was my last fight was at 135, and I weighed in at 131.
Right.
You know, I came in at 131.
Mm-hmm.
I would go to 130. I wouldn't mind going to 130. You know,
Okay.
like I say, that'd be something that I'll do just for the fans. Like that'd be a all right. Come on, let's really see what this shit at. You
All
know,
right.
so I wouldn't mind going to 130. I'll have to come down. I know he'll have to come up a little. You know, we can meet in the middle. That's something that I wouldn't mind doing.
All right. So you'd say your dream situation to end up your career, hypothetically, in some order, would be Gervonta Tank Davis and then Naoya Inoue?
Yeah, that'd be a nice little. Let me go
Farewell
ahead and put
tour?
the icing on the cake real quick for everybody.
Absolutely. I love
Everybody
it.
that the ones that's supposed to be the real dogs, let me go ahead and step on them real quick.
Absolutely, man. Well, Gary, it's been an honor having you on the show today, man. I can't wait to see what God's got in store for you, man.
Man, thank you. I appreciate everyone for having me. If you're a genuine fan of Mr. Russell, I appreciate y'all. I appreciate all the love, man. Continue to support.
Absolutely. You're
It
always
will
welcome
not
on,
go in
man.
vain.
Absolutely. You're always welcome on, man. God bless.
All right, thank you.
Yep. I appreciate you guys all for tuning into that interview. I'll have it clipped up, edited out, and then posted onto my YouTube channel very shortly after the show wraps up today. I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your little day right now, but we're going to get into a quick break, and then I'll get into the rest of the show. So make sure to tune in. If you guys have any comments or questions for me to discuss, leave in the chat, and I'll talk to you guys shortly. God bless you guys. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. If you guys are having a blessed Friday. With that being said, you guys can go rewind and go check out the interview with Gary Russell Jr. But as for going forward, we're going to get into a fight recap of the fight that went down in the UK this morning or afternoon. Then we're going to get into some fight previews and then a couple boxing news things we're going to get into as well. But if you guys have any questions or comments or topics for me to discuss on today's show, head into the chat. You can check it out in X. You guys can also check it out in YouTube, depending on what platform you're tuning in on. And make sure to go leave those in the chat, and I'll be able to see it. Your comment will pop up on the screen, and we'll get right to it. So without a further ado, let's get to it now. Earlier this morning, we had Charlie Edwards fight Salvador Juarez via unanimous decision win. He had 96-94, 99-91, 99-91 on the scorecards. Great performance by Charlie Edwards. He took care of business. He looked great, exceptional. He did his job. He looked very well today. As for Michael Conlan, he goes down and defeats Jack Bateson via fourth round TKO. And I'm just going to say this. Absolutely beautiful performance by Michael Conlan. Jack Bateson obviously was a decent guy, but for Michael Conlan, this was a last resort win. He had to win it. And I was very clear on that yesterday. He had to go out there and win in this fight. He took care of business, fourth round KO. He looked exceptional. Let's get into a fight preview, though. Going down tomorrow, we've got a lot of fights happening. I'm going to start with this. Oscar Valdez fighting Ricky Medina, super featherweight main event going down in Mexico. This is going to be Valdez's return to his hometown for the first time in over a decade, aiming to rebound from a brutal loss to Navarrete. Medina sees this as his ticket to the top 15. Valdez is a man with a 32-3 record, while Medina is 16-3. I see Valdez going out there and winning this fight. I think he's going to be exceptional. He's fighting his hometown. This is a situation where you look at what you're going to be brought into the table. I think he's going to have an excellent performance in this fight. I see Valdez coming out there and beating Medina, and by unanimous decision. I don't see it going by knockout, but I do see a unanimous decision win there. Let's go back over to the UK. Pat McCormack will be fighting Miguel Parra for a welterweight title eliminator. I've already expressed my thoughts on the situation. It was a very intriguing situation that happened earlier this week, and that is that this fight is now going to be for a title eliminator. A little bit odd because you're talking about the number 7, number 12 ranked man in the WBA currently, but somehow this fight is now being boosted up into the spot of a welterweight title eliminator. Do I believe that Pat McCormack, if he were to go out and win, is ready to fight in that situation? Probably not. I think he's 3 fights out. Give it about 12 months for most fighters. I know he's not the most active guy in the world, so for him it might be 18 months until he's actually ready for that step. However, if he wins against Miguel Parra, a man with a 7-0 record, 5 KOs, he moved to 8-0 with whatever, if it's a KO or not, he would be positioning himself for a welterweight world championship shot. Whether or not he deserves it or is ready for it, that's to be determined, but he could be in this position. This is a big fight here. For Parra, he's 25-5 with 1 draw in his career, ranked number 12 by the WBA. I do think that we're going to see Pat McCormack go out there and win this fight by unanimous decision. Parra will be under pressure, but I think McCormack is the better fighter here. My only big question, like I said, is this. Is he jumping and developing enough to be ready for a world title shot in the near future? I don't know, but that's the position he's going to get himself in. Mark Dickinson versus Troy Williamson. English super middleweight title was on the line until this morning, where Mark Dickinson has been stripped of his English super middleweight title after weighing in over 5 pounds heavier than the 168-pound limit. I've expressed my thoughts on this before. What is going on? Why is this something in boxing that we're getting more and more common? This should not be happening in boxing. 5 pounds overweight. Loses the English middleweight title, and now you're in a position where hopefully he's going to be punished for this situation, and you weigh in 5 pounds, over 5 pounds, over the 168-pound limit. Absolutely embarrassing. Mark Dickinson is 8-1 with 2 KOs in his career, while Williamson is 24-1 in his career. He's also the former British champion. I think Dickinson will win this fight. I think a lot of people will be rooting for Troy Williamson in this situation because of what happened. But listen, hopefully Troy Williamson makes it out all right because Dickinson's coming in heavy. Very, very heavy. Overall, I think it should not even be sanctioned. I think when you're weighing over 5 pounds, it's ridiculous. But we'll see what happens there. Dickinson needs to win this fight because if he were to lose this would be very embarrassing. It would be a horrible look for himself. Either way, he's not going home with the English middleweight title. Leo Atang will also be making his return, a very intriguing heavyweight prospect right now. I think Leo Atang will get a first-round KO. I don't see this being much of a threat. Excited to see Leo Atang return to the ring, though. And then we have Eduardo Nunez fighting Christopher Diaz-Velez, IBF super featherweight title, going down in Mexico. Nunez defends his title for the first time at home. It's a homecoming fight. Nunez will win this fight. We saw last time this is a man that has had 27 KOs. All of his wins came by way of knockout prior to his last fight in Japan. This fight will be another knockout for himself. I see it within 4 rounds. Then Pedro Guevara versus Adrian Curiel, super flyweight co-main event. 2 former world champions collide. Guevara has the edge in experience and power. Curiel is much younger, but he does lack his pop and power. We look at this situation. Curiel is a man with 26 wins, 6 losses, 1 by draw. 5 of those came by way of knockout. So he's not a knockout artist. We're not going to see a KO by him, but he's the former IBF champion. He upset Nishinga in 2023. Well, Guevara, he's a former WBC champ, 17-year-old veteran. This is a man that's going to be a very, very good fight. I think go either way. I think Curiel's awkward style does make it tricky, but Guevara, I think his veteran experience should give him the edge here. But overall, I do see it as a 50-50 type fight. Last 2 things I want to get into on today's show is in regards to some boxing news. Bash Promotions will promote Badou Jack versus McMahon 2. Bash Promotions $301,018 have outbid Don King Promotions to win the purse bids for the Badou Jack No McMahon WBC Cruiserweight title rematch. This was a situation that I've been talking about. So many people kept asking why Jai Patai wasn't fighting. I said this is why, and now it's official if you guys didn't believe me. They're not going to fight right now because they're going to have a rematch. This was needed because the original fight should not have gone to Badou Jack. No McMahon won that fight, whether you like it or not. But we're going to have a rematch now. The interesting thing is this. Don King made a big fuss about it, wanted to get the rematch made, and then he lost the purse bids. Interesting story there. We'll see what happens. But we are going to get the rematch. The first one was not a very good fight. We'll see what happens in the second one. Trainer Stefy Bull has been sentenced to 10 years for conspiracy to supply cocaine. Bull had previously claimed that the drugs were from one of his fighters before confessing. All right, 10 years in prison. Good with me. At the end of the day, what he did was not right. He made boxing more dirty. It was a horrible action by himself. Then he also tried throwing his fighters underneath the bus. So he's now being a man as a snitch, and he's guilty anyways. He's lying about being a snitch. The whole shebang. Bad look from Stefy Bull. 10 years in prison. That's what's coming his way. It is what it is. So that's what I've got for you guys on today's show. I hope you guys have a blessed weekend now. Enjoy the rest of you guys Friday. Enjoy Saturday and Sunday. Hope you guys have a blessed weekend. I will be back live on Monday, and we will be previewing, getting ready for the Canelo Bud Crawford fight week starting on Monday. So I appreciate you guys all that tuned into all of the different shows I have this week. May God bless you guys all. Hope you guys have a blessed weekend, and I'll see you guys back live on Monday. May God bless you guys all. And with that being said, SchuZ is out. I'll see you guys Monday. God bless you guys.